Hello and welcome to the Redmen TV podcast. Today I am joined by the man, the legend, Mr. James Sutton, by Cal from Team Coppish, and by our Ross Chandley from upstairs. Ross, thank you very much for joining us. Callum, thank you very much. And of course, James, thank you for joining us. We've got a kick-off question from Joe Harper on Twitter to get us started. I'm really interested to find out this one, actually, James. What's your favourite song when you're drunk?
Well, I think it depends on who you're with and where you are, doesn't it? And also how drunk you are.
Explain the different scenarios.
Well, different scenarios. Okay, so look, right. I'm an actor. Okay, so if I'm really high, really hammered. That was a mistake. I'm very, very likely to sing show tunes. I'm very, very likely to sing show tunes.
Can you tap?
Can I? I mean, a bit. To say I can tap is probably a bit far.
You can tap better than me.
I can tap better than you, yeah. But I mean, come on. I mean, that's not really saying much, is it?
No.
But I was the last time I was out really drunk and singing. I think we were singing. What's that Sugar Babes song? That really great Sugar Babes song.
The one that says like "hole."
No. And I know how I feel about you now.
Okay.
That song.
Right.
We were blasting that out. So that
Where was this?
Just down my road.
Okay.
Well, I live right off Lark Lane. You see, so all you hear is people just coming back singing from the pub. So it's like a constant sing along every single night when the sun's shining.
And Sugar Babes is the one.
Sugar Babes.
I never had you down as a Sugar Babes fan.
Yeah, have you not? You know that song though, right?
I'm aware of it.
It's an absolute banger. Can somebody back me up? Sugar Babes, About You Now is
Sai is shouting from the other room. It is a banger, and he was shouting the name of the song before you even got your words out. To be fair to him, like
Sugar Babes, About You Now. Get drunk and sing that. I promise you won't regret it.
Callum, what's your favourite song when you're drunk?
I don't drink, so I've never been drunk.
What's your favourite song when you're having a sugar rush?
So from the apple juice. I'd probably
The apple juice.
I'd probably say I don't. If I'm just by myself, probably Michael Jackson Rock With You. That's like
That is a tune, to be fair, like.
Yeah. And if I'm out with friends,
Are you saying you're a different person when you're out with friends, Cal?
well, I can't play Michael Jackson Rock With You with friends because they'll just rip me for it. So
Yeah.
I've got to have split personality. I'll probably say a Jay-Z song. I'm a big Jay-Z fan. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay, Ross, what's yours, mate?
I think James nailed it. It depends where you are and how smashed you are, or what level, or what mood you're in as well. Actually, I could take a bit of Pink Floyd, Comfortably Numb. It was just sat by myself, but equally I could take a bit of David Gray or Barry White or Mr. Brightside by the Killers. And if I know that's cliche, that one, but if you're out in a club and it fucking comes on and you're smashed, you're not singing it, are you?
No, that and Top Loader are like the two worst songs.
Oh my God, that Top Loader tune is just the worst. It's just.
Well, if you're drunk, you're singing it though, aren't you?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
Mine's. I'm a big fan of cover songs. So me first in the Gimme Gimmes, Nothing Compares to You, or Mandy. Like, I'm not a tap dancer, but I am massively into ska. So I will be skanking.
I did not know that about you.
Yeah. Mate. You better watch out if this arse comes scarring across the dance floor, by the way, because will knock you over like a bowling pin. I have no problems whatsoever doing any of that stuff, which is why I can't wait to go back to the Crazy House reunion, August Bank Holiday weekend that I've got me tickets for. Oh yes, it is going to be a big night, and I will be requesting Nothing Compares to You or Mandy by me first in the Gimme Gimmes. I've got one for us from one of our club legends, Jiving the Hive, who said, if you had to swap out a major character from a film with another major character from a different film and a different genre and still make two blockbusters, who would you switch? A la Terminator from Action into one of the characters from Love Actually. I will give you a moment to think about this one while I try and cobble something together. I think I would swap Heath Ledger's The Joker with Moana. Because I'm liking the idea of this sort of Roger Rabbit style bad guy in Moana in Batman, because I think that would be quite cool, and also Joker as a good guy in the Moana film would be quite interesting, paired alongside The Rock as well. I think there's a duo that could really get people through the doors of the cinemas and stuff like that. So go on, what's yours?
I would just put Nick Cage in every single film.
That's what he does, isn't it?
Well, no. Nick Cage chooses really, really obscure films. Have you seen his?
But plays the same character in every one.
Whoa, that's unfair. That's unfair. But every single film needs a little bit of Nick Cage star quality, though, man. It needs a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of madness.
Can he bring the leather jacket and the from Gone in 60 Seconds as well?
Yeah.
Because that needs to be in every scene of every film that's ever existed. I watched that film because it's one of my favourites, right? And it's like a guilty pleasure film of mine. And this was like a week ago or something, because it came up on the Disney Plus app. And so I was like, all right, okay, it's 11 o'clock at night, fuck it, I'm watching it. I've not seen it in years. And I couldn't watch that scene anymore. I was like, it's too old and it's too just creepy.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I'd put. Have you seen? Is it Leaving Las Vegas? The Nick Cage film?
Yeah, I think so.
Where he smashes up the casino and all that good stuff. Yeah, I'd take that performance and I'd put it into like a Bridget Jones or something. You know, take Colin Firth out and put Nick Cage in. So instead of like a really kind of British fight, it's just Nick Cage just going absolutely batshit and just smashing the place up and screaming at people. That's a performance right there.
Has anyone got any other shouts?
I'll
go for I'd take. Go on, Callum.
I'd probably
take
swap
Callum?
out. I'd swap out Denzel Washington from The Equalizer into Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles.
Nice. I like that. Go on,
The
Ross, what's
Incredibles.
yours?
That's my guilty pleasure film. The Incredibles.
Nice.
It's a great film.
Yeah, it's boss. I'd take out Jack from Titanic and put SpongeBob SquarePants in it. just for the pure fact, when shit's going down, someone just goes, "Oh, who lives in a pineapple under the sea?" And
Brilliant. We're going to talk football now anyway, so you can mark this at your timer if you want in the comments, like you do every single week. We've got loads to talk about. We've got 5 years of Sadio Mane. We've got a little bit of Euros chat. We've got loads of transfer rumours that we're going to go through on the show. But before that, I'm going to get the lads to help me with my Redmen Picks, specifically James, because he's in the room with me, and it'll be much easier. So Redmen Picks is live. We did it obviously for every Liverpool game at the back end of last season. We've been doing it throughout the Euros. You get a chance to win a share of £100 for free by going to redmenpicks.com or clicking the link in the description. This one is on England-Germany tonight. So James, will England beat Germany, yes or no?
Yeah, of course they will.
Oh, how many goals will England score? 0, 1, 2, 3 or 4 plus?
I think England will score 2 goals.
Okay. How many corners will England be awarded?
More than 12, less than 20.
4 plus. How many will Harry Kane score? That was corners, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Will Harry Kane score?
No.
How many shots on target will England have?
7.
Fucking hell. How many goals will Germany score?
1.
How many corners will Germany be awarded?
6.
4 plus again. How many tackles will John Stones make?
Let's say 8.
6 plus. Wow. How many saves will England goalkeeper make? That's Pickford, by the way, just so you know.
Loads.
4 plus.
Yeah.
Will Kai Havertz score?
No.
Okay, submit the picks. There you go. It's literally that easy, and you could win a share of £100. I might even win because of James' scandalously high picks. And if I do, James, I will be sharing my winnings with you. Thank you so much for that. Get involved. Click the link in the description. We're going to talk now about 5 years of Sadio Mane. So I'm going to go to you, Cal, first, mate. It's been 5 years since we signed Sadio Mane. He's been absolutely fantastic for us. But is he the player you thought we were signing, if you can take yourself back?
No, he's not. So I was extremely over the moon when we signed him. Very, very happy. I thought it's great business by the club. As a player I really liked at Southampton. I didn't think he'd be as good as he has been, though. I always thought he'd do really well for us, but I could never have imagined him being such an integral part to us being successful. And especially his first season, he was sort of that difference maker for us. We didn't really have anyone with pace in the front line before he joined. And he just completely changed the dynamic of how we played, the intensity. And yeah, he's just gone on to a level. I never thought he'd become world class. I thought he'd be that tier just below world class, but he's completely just exceeded all my expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty similar to that, to be honest with you, Ross. I think you know, there's no way I thought Sadio would be as good as he is. There's no way I thought we were as close to winning stuff as we were. And Sadio Mane, for me, Ross, don't know whether he was the first signing that sort of made us believe that we were going places.
Yeah, I completely agree with Callum. You know, I think before, when you spent that around £30 million before under FSG or recent years in Liverpool, it was your Andy Carroll's, Benteke, and there's always that moment where you think you're going to get a bit stung here, or it's not going to go quite right. He was at Southampton, but not only was he the first signing, he's the first signing that made us believe that you can go to a Southampton and get a world class player. I didn't think Liverpool were going to turn out to be as good as we were, not last season, but leading up to it and whatever else. But you're right, he was the initial cog in the wheel that made everything else happen. If it wasn't for him, did Liverpool get that top 4 position? Did he attract the likes of Salah afterwards? It's all ifs and buts now. But if it wasn't for him, I don't think we'd be where we are now.
That's it. And James, I think that first year he played right winger for us, didn't he? And so I always remember thinking that summer, I thought Mo Salah was being bought as a backup for Mane because he was that integral. He was our best player. I think he might have even been close to, if not our top goal scorer in that first year. When we
he scores on his debut.
Yeah, he was sensational that entire year. When we signed him, and then we signed Salah the season after, did you see it that Mane would move over to that left and be just as good?
No. I mean, similar to what the lads were saying. But I thought he'd hit his glass ceiling. I didn't think he had I didn't think there was a world beyond him at Southampton. I didn't think he could step up as much as he has. I mean, I think he's surprised everyone with his work rate and his attitude and his pace and also the goals as well, because the numbers at Southampton, they're not amazing for goals and assists, but all of a sudden you put him in a team like ours and the sky's the limit. And to have him alongside Mohamed Salah, I mean, that's just a masterstroke, isn't it? Because that and also in front of our fullbacks as well. Don't forget, because that relationship with him and Robbo, which has just blossomed and blossomed, has just been incredible to watch. And I don't think any of us saw that coming at all.
That's it, and that sort of relationship is one of those key things, isn't it? I think for me anyway, that first season obviously is overshadowed by Mo Salah, isn't he? A big time, because Salah comes in, sets the world alight. And you're almost thinking to yourself, well, can Mane play on that left-hand side? Because if I remember correctly, it was something like 10 goals. I think Firmino outscored him by a handful of goals, maybe 5-6 goals, something like that in that first season. And you're wondering if it's just an adjustment season to back playing on that left-hand side, which he's not done for a long time, or whether it's that relationship with Robbo and how he works on that left-hand side, or is the team just going to play through Mo Salah? But the next year is when Sadio Mane comes back to the forefront, isn't it? He goes on, he's since won the Golden Boot for the Premier League with Salah and Aubameyang, was it, I think? Cal,
yeah, that's correct.
And then he just continues to do what he did the previous year, essentially from that right wing position. And then we've got that 3, and they tear the league apart, don't they? And it's when they become a 3, and when he plays with Robbo, that you start to see how important and how much of a world class player Sadio Mane is, Cal.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be honest. When we signed Salah, I had watched him quite a lot since he left Chelsea. I watched him a lot at Roma and Fiorentina. And when we signed him, I was salivating because I was just thinking, teams don't realise what's going to happen to them now, because Salah was devastating at Roma, especially when he played with Dzeko. So I almost knew that Mane was going to be moved out onto the left, and he played on the left a few times at Southampton, and he looked sharp. But again, I still didn't expect him to hit the same heights. I always thought Salah would score loads of goals because that was his game at Roma. But when Mane and Salah clicked, I think it was... So the first season when Salah came in, Mane kind of got dropped a little bit and started to become a little bit of a rotational player because his form was up and down. I think it was those Man City games in the Champions League and maybe the one in the league. That's when, for me, everything really clicked. And I was just like, he fully understands that role now. Robbo's in the team and they just get what they're doing. And Mane just went on to a different level. And then 18, 19, 19, 20, he was unplayable. And I went on record a few times, and I know people love your Neymars of this world, etc. I wouldn't swap Mane for any other left winger in world football. I think he's that good, and I think he offers so much more than goals that, for me, he's in those 2 seasons, he was untouchable on that side.
Yeah, that's it, Ross, isn't it? What's his favourite attribute of yours, Ross?
I mean, when it's on the pitches, obviously his pace is devastating. I like the fact that he can just stand still and then goes past the player, and I like his aggression. But as James was talking before, I think a lot of things on the pitch are great about him, but him being moved over to the left and not sulking, not kicking up a fuss, I think is a testament to his kind of character. Just kind of, he's quite a humble guy, isn't he? Okay, Sam will get the job done. He could have had his nose put out the fact that Salah was coming in, he was being moved, but I think he's drove healthy competition despite what people say. And there's the incident at Burnley, you don't pass to each other sometimes. The forwards, they want to score goals. I quite like that. And I also quite like the stuff that we're seeing in recent weeks, the fact that, he's humble enough to go and buy, help fund hospitals and schools and stuff, and where he kind of comes from. He's always said, look, I don't want flashcards, I don't want this, don't want that. That's what Liverpool do. Don't just go and sign players that are coming towards the peak, sign players that aren't knobheads, basically. And I love that about him. But again, on the pitch, despite last season, Twitter's not the barometer for anything. People losing their team, he's gone shit. He hasn't gone shit at all. He's knackered. So hopefully he gets a big rest and we can see the Mane, of previous seasons. But I think it's his pace for me. I think he's just, and his drive, he's just devastating on his day.
Yeah, go on, James.
No, I completely agree with everything, and his balance as well for me. Like when he's moving at full, at full pace, and there's people getting in the way, there's tackles coming in, there's legs coming in. He's got that ability that some of the best players in the world have, of just being able to ride a tackle, skip over someone, shrug somebody off. He's a really powerful, solid player, and also the ability to cut in and score as well. I think calling him a winger is doing him a bit of a disservice. I think he offers a lot more than that. I think he drops deep. He can come into the centre and pick the ball up. He's not afraid to make things happen. The job that he was probably brought in to do is not the job that he's ended up doing, which I think is probably fair for all of our front three. That is that kind of interchangeable play that he's part of. The trophies and the awards and the plaudits speak for themselves when it comes to Sadio Mane.
Yeah, same, mate. One of the things that I love, and Ross sort of mentioned, is that ability to stop-start.
Yeah.
He goes from completely still to pass the man before they know it. And when he's at his absolute best, he's enigmatic, isn't he? You just have no idea what he's going to do. And I always think, when you play footy with people, when you get to my age and my weight, right, you can know what someone's going to do and not get to them. That's just what happens when you get a little bit older and fatter. But when you imagine yourself playing against a Sadio Mane, you would never know what he's going to do. It must be so frustrating.
By the time your brain had engaged to be like, right, I'm going to tackle him there, he's over there.
My only chance is to basically hope that the field's like Moss Hill, where it's downhill like that, and essentially do what that fat kid in Hook did, where he goes and barrel rolls down, and see if I can catch up with him like that and try and knock him over, a la a bowling pin.
That is a wonderful reference.
Well, you got to love Hook, haven't you? I'm sorry to that lad. I didn't mean to skit him either. That's unfair. But it is what it is. What is your favourite goal of his then?
God, there's so many. I mean, I mentioned his debut before. I think he scores the winner on his debut, which is he lays down a marker for what he's capable of. The goal against Everton, he scores against Everton in the I think it's is it last year or the year before last? Nicks the ball off Richarlison.
So many goals against Everton.
Yeah, there's one that he starts the counter attack. He nicks the ball. It's at home. Nicks the ball off Richarlison. Runs the length of the pitch with Andy Robbo. Slides the ball into him and he just fucking wallops it into the bottom corner. The goal against Bayern in the Champions League as well, which was kind of that was the sort of the straw that broke the German camel's back. God, there's just so many, aren't there? I think those four are my favourite.
Which of his 97 goals and 218 appearances in a Liverpool shirt, Callum, is your favourite?
He's got such a collection. I think for me, it's probably his debut goal, because that's when he kind of arrived, and it was a celebration with Klopp and the rest of the players where he just jumps on Klopp's back, and even Klopp's almost like, wow, what have I signed here? I've done it again. I'm a genius. Look what I've done. And it came out of nowhere as well. And he starts on the right, he cuts in two players, top corner, debut goal. The fans are there behind the goal as well. Just had everything. That's the one that stands out for me.
I just can't see past the Bayern Munich goal. I was there for a start, and being there and seeing him do that to Manuel Neuer was just sensational. You're not supposed to go to the Allianz and dick him in the eye like Liverpool did that night. It was just absolutely fantastic. Ross, what's your one, mate?
It's hard to disagree with the Munich one. I'd also go the Everton one, which I think was 90+4 just before Christmas, which wasn't the best goal, but it was against Everton when they were throwing flares onto the pitch. That was good. And if not
the
that
blue
one,
smoke was in the background, wasn't it?
yeah, and Lovren comes out of nowhere. Like,
Lovren comes out of the mid.
yeah.
Thoroughbred of a goal, that one.
And then if not that one, I'm going to the back heel against Watford, where he back heels it over the goalkeeper. Sensational.
Yeah, Sai in the comments is saying 90+4 against Everton for me. We've got Phil D saying absolute supreme athlete in Mo, keeping themselves at peak fitness has been so critical to our recent success. Imagine having some of the bodies we have in midfield and defence up front. Dr. G. Jenkins, love Sadio, favourite Liverpool player. Him turning Eriksen inside out in the Champions League final. Neuer, Neymar, goodness me, he's had some moments. You'll never walk alone.
He scored in the Champions League final that we lost. He
was the best player on
He
the
was,
pitch.
wasn't he? He was fantastic in that match, and he scored.
Hit the post.
He was. That was one of his best performances for me. I mean, that was like all action. It was everything. Yeah. Like, it felt like, not in the same way, but because obviously it didn't come to fruition. But the way Steven Gerrard used to drag us through games, I felt like Sadio Mane was trying to do that in that Kiev final. Like, and when everyone else's heads kind of dropped because of a certain goalkeeper, Sadio Mane just was a force of nature because. And especially with Salah going off injured, he had to be. And he stood up and he was counted. And that's when I knew for a fact that he was going to go on and be world-class for a long time. But, we did have his struggles last season, didn't he, Ross? You mentioned them a little bit earlier. But I think people sort of low-key didn't get on to the fact that he was brilliant towards the end of the season, Sadio Mane. And I don't think we get third in the league had it not been for him turning his form around.
No, I don't think at the time it's hard when you're a fan because you're just so frustrated with everything else that's going on with defenders getting injured and results not going your way and equal performances. You look for kind of, not scapegoats, but reason why things are going wrong. I think Mané might have been one of those. He had several chances to score loads of goals. He missed some clear-cut ones, but I don't think we appreciate as footballers can be mentally tired as well as physically. Sort of someone mentioned in the comments there. If Mané and Mo got injured at some point last season, we would have been even more fucked than we were. Somehow, how that happens. So to ask them to go again and again you mentioned the rapport he's got with Robbo. Well, he's got rapport with the midfielders. And Virgil van Dijk example. That Bayern Munich goal's perfect. Long ball over the top. Nat Phillips and Reece Williams aren't doing that because we don't expect that of him. So he's losing rapport and synergy and chemistry with previous teammates. But we're all expecting the same standard of him. Now, at some point, at a level, I feel sorry for him. But like I said, it's hard to marry frustration and you're top of the league at Christmas and you're dwindling down. I think you can be critical of him in some points, but I don't blame him for Liverpool falling apart at some point. And like you said, towards the end when we got that chemistry back and our fucking midfield back, there was no surprise that we got our forwards back as well.
Yeah, there was something on the official Liverpool website actually on Sadio Mane's 5 years. It was an interesting talk piece with Peter Kravitz, and what he was saying was obviously it's big that he has that relationship with Robbo, but he actually said, look, it's about the triangle, it's about that left-sided midfielder as well. And I think we all know that when we watch the football that it can't just be two players, you need that overload guy as well. And it made me wonder about this season, James, and the fact that Gini Wijnaldum's been that third guy in that partnership down that left-hand side for so long. Who's going to take that role, and how long do you think it will be before they're up to speed?
Thiago Alcantara.
You think he moves to that left-hand side?
Yeah, I think that's why he was brought in. Truth be told, I think they
keep Endo on the right.
Yeah. They acknowledged some time ago that they were going to lose Gini Wijnaldum, and I think the contract negotiations officially broke down quite some time ago, despite all the kind of noise in the press and the media about trying to sort a new deal out for him. I think they knew, and I think that's why they brought Thiago in, and I think he fits the bill perfectly. I think it's a different kind of energy, but I think in terms of nicking the ball off people, turning, getting your head up and playing a pass and starting an attack, and playing with you back to goal, I think I think Thiago fits the bill perfectly, and I think that triangle, I don't see a problem with that at all.
No drop off whatsoever.
No drop off at all. And I think you're right as well to reference, all the kind of the criticism and anything that's been levelled at really any of our players over the past 12 months. This past season's been a complete anomaly. I don't think it's fair to say, oh, so and so's passed it, or I look at Bobby Firmino's drop off or whatever. I don't think think it's fair. I think we have to, you know, look at the next season going forward, see where we are by January, and I think that's a fair reflection of where these players are, because you don't just stop being world class. You know, if you're Sadio Mane, if you're Mohamed Salah, if you're Roberto Firmino, you know, you don't just go, I'm done, boys. You know, that's me. It just doesn't happen. You know, it's a much more gradual thing, and I think what we saw was a real, just a complete flip 180 from being this force of nature, this side, to being one that was just looked really fragile, really weak. Didn't look, you know, the synergy that Ross mentioned just wasn't there at all, and so I think going forward, it doesn't worry me at all.
Cal, where do you stand on sort of that? Because I think for me anyway, you know, we all knew the reasons why Liverpool weren't great. We talked about them. Did we get bored of talking about them and then just decided to blame the players?
Yeah, I think so. Don't get me wrong. Mane, I think the difficulty that Mane, Salah, Virgil, Trent, all these players have is, at their best, they're almost unplayable, and they are, well, for me, not probably, they are the best players in their position in world football. So even if there's a little drop-off, it seems as though there's a massive drop-off, because the numbers and what they do on a season-to-season basis is so much better than what others do, that anything lower than that, it seems as though it's not as good. For example, Salah's first season, he got 30 odd goals in the Premier League. The next season, I think he got 20. And people are like, oh, well, he's declined. Well, 20 goals in the Premier League has never been a decline or a dip for anyone. Rashford has been talked about having a great season this season, and him and Mane pretty much had similar stats. So I think the problem is that because our players perform at such an optimal level, that anything below that, people automatically go so far the other side and say, well, no, they're absolutely rubbish and they need to leave. Like, I'll be the first to say I think Mane had a pretty average to poor season overall. But when people were like, yep, cash in now, get rid of him, I was just like, whoa, like, this be easy. I think he deserves at least one more season to prove that this isn't a decline, this isn't him finished. I think every player in world football over their careers, maybe barring Ronaldo and Messi, have had one or two seasons where you're like, yeah, maybe that wasn't their season. I think Mane, now he gets the break. I think everything's sort of settled with him. I think next season we'll see him back at his best.
Yeah, hopefully you're right. We're going to move it on then. We're going to do a little bit of talk about the Euros before we get to some of the transfer rumours. So the first one, I'll come to you, James, on this one. Shaqiri to Lazio. Looks like they could be interested in Xherdan. You happy with sort of 13-15 million quid for Shaqiri, or would you keep him around?
It's difficult, isn't it? Look, first of all, I really, really like the player. I've always liked Shaqiri. I think to have a player of that caliber on the bench, you know, I think is coming. And for the performances he's put in against, you know, there's that famous performance against Manchester United when he comes, you know, when he runs them ragged. You know, he's got that, and he's got that ability. He's a very tricky player to play against. Having said that, you know, you're never gonna displace our front three. You're never gonna have a consistent run of games. And I feel he's at a stage in his career now where I think he needs to move on. I think it's the right move for him, and I don't think the club would stand in his way. And I think a team like Lazio, I think the pace of that probably suits him. I actually think he does bits in the Italian league. I think he does really, really well over there. I think it suits him. I think he'd be a standout player. I think his pace is he's still got the pace. He's still got the ability. He's still got a shot on him with both feet. Yeah, I think it's a good move. I'll be really sad to see him go though, because I think, you know, there's been times this season when I think our bench has been pretty piss poor, but I think having Shaqiri there, I think for me, you know, he's been one of the kind of shining lights of our sort of squad players, if you will.
It's a mad one, isn't it? Because I speak to so many people, James, and like about Shaqiri, no one thinks he's shit.
No.
Everyone can see he's a good player.
Yeah.
I just always thought he never really suited the system. And I saw that even last night in the Euros, which I was supposed to be talking about, and skipped ahead to the transfer stuff. You know, he's not a work rate player. No. And he's not really a Jurgen Klopp player, but you think for the price that we paid for him to get that type of a player, I mean, you know, I keep going back to that assist for Diogo Jota. It's just a slide rule pass. He's got that in his locker. He can change the game.
The assist for Wijnaldum against Barcelona. it's him who gets that crossing. He's got that in his locker. But yeah, everything you're saying, I agree with, mate. I think it is the work rate, and also I think it's his ability to adapt and playing sort of slightly different positions, going forward. He hasn't got that. He is quite a specific player, but if you get him in the right team, in the right league, I think he'll do really, really well.
Is there an option here, Cal, for Harvey Elliott to take his place in the squad, or do we need to sign another one for those players to back those players up at the front?
Yeah, I think we need to sign another one. I love Harvey Elliott. I think he's going to be a star, but I wouldn't want that sort of pressure on him so early. And I think with Salah and Mane, especially considering how much football they've played in the last few years, I think we need someone who can actually come in and not only challenge them, but give them a chance to actually have a rest and rotate. And I think if you push Harvey Elliott into that position, I think you're asking a lot of him, because if he doesn't perform to the standard that we need, again, it's us as fans, we're going to just pile on, and I think we're not very patient as fans anymore. And especially for a youngster, I think it could be detrimental. Plus, I think Harvey Elliott's best suited to play in the centre for our particular system, because I think you need to have a good amount of pace to play on the wing for us. And I don't think Harvey Elliott's got that sort of burst of acceleration and speed. But I think in the middle, I think Harvey Elliott could be devastating.
That's really interesting, actually. What are do you mean as a number 9?
No, as a sort of as a 8/10. I think, and again, not straight away. I think Harvey Elliott's creativity. I remember him playing against Aston Villa back when we had the Club World Championships.
Yeah.
And I think we had to play like our under 18 because obviously the FA, etc., tried to mess us about. And I think even though we lost that game 5-0, I think he still was the most creative player on the pitch, and he was
the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, that as well. So when I see stuff like that, I think you put him in the centre around better players, I think he thrives. And even at Blackburn, he was top assist maker for them, and one of the most chances created in the league as well. I think only behind Buendia. So I think him playing through the centre in the future would be absolutely devastating for us.
What struck me about Harvey Elliott at that game, because I was at that game against Aston Villa, was him talking to the crowd and trying to G the crowd up and G the other players up, and you looking around going, you're a freaking kid, and yet clearly he was the best player for Liverpool and he was a leader, and you sort of go, it's those little things, isn't it? It doesn't matter if you get beat 5-0 in those games, you take something from the game and you think, I'll remember that. That'll be important in a few years. Make sure you remember that, Chris. Please remember that, because they're the types of things that you learn about young players and stuff, aren't they?
The Villa players were terrified of him, by the way. He was the only player on the pitch. They were absolutely terrified. Every time he got the ball, he'd get his head up. There was step overs. He was looking to play through balls. He just didn't have anyone around him that could kind of do the things that he needed to get into the game. But I was there as well, and he was a real positive that night. He really was. We went away just wow, what a kid we've got here.
Is he going to be like a new signing, Ross?
Don't fucking set me up like that. I agree with parts of what Callum's saying there. Because when people are talking about someone to kind of help the front three and rotate them, well, it's Jota, and it should have been Jota last season. Had he not been played in the game, it didn't matter, and get injured for 2 months and further add to frustrations at what's going on. But also to James's point before...
At least you're not holding a grudge, Ross?
What?
At least you're not holding a grudge.
I've let it go, it's fine. But to James's point before, even on the Shaqiri stuff, I still want someone in because, I don't think the frustration could be directed at anyone in particular, but it's not Shaqiri's fault, as you said, because he's an assistant player. But the amount of times that, I looked at the bench last season, and nothing, it's great having Shaqiri on the bench, but 5 minutes here, 4 minutes there. There was one point where he came on at the sidelines and they even got on the fucking pitch because it was just for time wasting. We should be at a stage now, and we'll have that when we get players back from injury and other new signings and new centre backs of coming in and looking at the bench and go, actually, I've got 2-3 options. Now Klopp's come out and said, well, I've not played Cates, I've not played Chamberlain because I've changed too much already. Simicast didn't get a game because I'm changing my centre back partnerships twice a week, at one stage. And I said before, Jota was injured, but I want to look at that bench or rotation in games and have different options, not making up numbers, which I felt like to me Shaqiri and Origi were doing. If they go, they need replacements for me and better replacements.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously not something that's been talked about in the general sense, but you only need to take in Shaqiri's kit and just a little bit at the sides, and you sorted, aren't you, for Javier? You're not even having to buy, because there's a new kit, man. So at least we don't have to go and what?
Just wear these lads.
Size. You just need to take him in a little bit. And
it's just funny where your brain goes sometimes, Chris. That's the talking point. We're going to save a few quid on kits for Harvey Elliott because Shaqiri's gone.
I think it's a good point, well presented, to be honest with you.
If you haven't subscribed to the Redmen TV, please do.
Quality analysis that you just don't get anywhere else, apparently. Fuck yous. Atavia, 40 million Porto release clause. It ends tomorrow, Callum. Are Liverpool going to sign this guy for 40, or are they going to wait till it goes up to 60 million euros? Or Absolutely. Is it just a crock of shit?
No, we're signing him. We're going to sign him at 50 million. I'm joking, obviously, guys. No, we're not. We're not signing him.
I thought you knew something then, Cal.
You lot looked at me like, oh, this is the last time we're bringing him on. No, we're not signing him. We're not signing him.
Is it a player that you'd like us to sign?
To be honest, I've not watched much of him. Drifty was speaking about.
Damn it, that's why I went with you for this one, because I knew me, James, and Ross didn't have a clue.
Drifty
that was unfair, but not entirely untrue.
Drifty said he reminds me of Coutinho, but from what I've seen, he doesn't remind me of Coutinho. I just think he's a good player, but I don't see where he fits in with us or us buying him.
Okay, well, we'll move on from Atavia then, because I don't think it's going to happen either, to be honest with you.
I think there's bigger priorities as well.
You know who Harry Wilson is, though, yeah?
I've heard of Harry Wilson, yeah.
He might be going to Benfica, you know. What do you think about that?
I think that's great for Harry Wilson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, he's someone that we've talked about and very fondly in the past. He's a player that, has got immense talent, but it just hasn't worked out for him for a number of reasons. I think a move to Benfica is absolutely spot on for him. Is there a price being quoted?
Is it around 15 million, Ross? The Athletic will report this one, weren't they?
15 million for Harry Wilson's a great bit of business. It really is.
He's nowhere near what he was, Ross, is he? Because, it was 20 million that Liverpool wanted a couple of years ago.
I think that's a reflection on his contract running out, the player, and probably the COVID market, And that's part of the problem that Liverpool have had pre-COVID, the same with Divock Origi, of holding out for certain fees. They went to see a pandemic, but, that's where it's going to bite them in the arse and kind of say, Divock Origi, £20 million. I think a lot of us would probably take 10 to 15 for him now, because that's kind of the market. But I agree with James on Harry Wilson. It's not going to work out for him. His value is only going to decrease. If he goes out on another loan, what's the point? If he's going to stay at Liverpool, not getting the games, what's the point? If we're going to get more funds for Mbappe, then it's fine. It's fine with me.
We need them. And listen, he's getting handed out of France, isn't he, Callum? So we may as well be waiting with open arms.
Yeah, I've filled up my petrol, so whenever he's ready, I'll go and pick him up.
You're going to go and pick him up from Lime Street?
Yeah.
Oh, you're taking Harry Wilson with you?
Yeah. Wherever Mbappe wants to go, you can sit in my Fiesta and we go. luxury driving.
I used to have a Kia Picanto, right? You know what a Kia Picanto is? Tiny little car. And through this, one of those random days, I went to pick D'Lo Brown up from the WWE, right, from the Nation of Domination, and he was staying in the Beefeater on Queen's Drive, opposite the Jolly Miller. And I went and picked him up, and he had to climb into the back of my Kia Picanto, right? And he was like, "Are you all right, lads?" Like, it was just one of those surreal days.
I'm gobsmacked that you've never told me that you had D'Lo Brown in the back of your Fiat Picanto. D'Lo Brown was a dude.
Mate, he's a legend. He's been watching Redmen for years and years. And he'd reached out through DMs to try and get in touch. Massive Liverpool fan. He'd come over. I think it was for a Chelsea game. There's a video on the YouTube channel of him doing a match reaction and saying that he hates Jose Mourinho. But I picked him up in my bloody Kia Picanto to take him to the game. And he just couldn't fit in the back of the car. He was fucking huge. Oh, what a guy he was, though. He was such a nice guy. He was such a nice guy. Brilliant, So there you go. If I can get D'Lo Brown in the back of my Kia Picanto, you can certainly get Mbappe in the back of your Fiesta, 100%. Mate, is what I'm trying to tell you. So we'll move on then. Kingsley Coman, James, linked with a move for him now. Think this one's going to happen?
No. I'm sorry, I don't think it's going to happen.
Bad news,
Are we ever going to sign anybody?
Yeah, but look, the way that Edwards has done his business over the past few, the past sort of 4 or 5 years, a lot of the rumours that have been going around, that they don't come to any fruition. They've already got a plan. They've already identified the players that they want. I don't know. That's the way they do their business. We don't know until suddenly it just happens.
But I want to know.
I know you want to know, and the audience want to know, Chris. But
So
we
we've got
can't
nothing
help
for them.
We've got nothing for them transfer-wise.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
I don't want to burst your
would you
bubble,
like
but
Kingsley Coman?
yeah, I'll take Kingsley Coman. I'll take anyone right now. We need numbers. We need bodies. As Cal said before, and Ross as well. Our bench is looking is shambolic at best. Even if we get bodies in that that don't immediately make our starting 11, any of these names that are banded around have got to be a good thing, because we're going to lose. We're probably going to lose 4, 5, 6 players that squad players. They need replacing immediately. So whether it's, I don't think there's too much room for players coming straight into our starting 11 really. Apart from rotating up top, I don't think there's much need. Maybe apart we've got Kanate and there's a centre back issue. But apart from that, I don't really see anyone coming straight in. I mean, do you?
No. There's 11 players there. I think Liverpool's best team is pretty much set, and the question mark, as you're right, is over the defenders. And does Kanate come in alongside Virgil van Dijk? Is there anyone there, Ross, maybe that you think differently, or what would you feel about the Kingsley Coman stuff?
I was seeing rumours this morning that Bayern want £100 million for him, so that straight away that can get in the bin. I'd love the player, but again, I said last week, we have to be careful with funds, especially this year. Like we know we're Celtic buyers, which is we don't like that, and we can't be Man City or Chelsea, whatever. But I think you've got to be sensible in what you do. I think there's other areas for me. I know I mentioned before, you've got Harvey Elliott, you've got Jota, you've got the front three. Like if Nico Williams goes, like right back concerns me. The midfield a little bit concerns me as well, because you can ask Thiago, Fabinho and Henderson to go, but they've all got their own injury records in their own right. That doesn't fill me with loads of confidence that we can go a full season with them every week. What does Chamberlain do? What does Keita do? I don't have loads of confidence in them. So my priority would be a central midfield in what we get this summer. Another forward player would be a luxury. But we're going to ship bodies out, as James has said. Who's playing that midfield? Because our games are won and lost in our midfield. And we've seen that last season. We're putting just people in there for the sake of making up numbers. James Milner, 36 years old, love him, but it's changing for a Premier League title. It shouldn't be him. Curtis Jones, kid, love him. Play more games next season, but don't rely on him.
You made me feel really bad about it all then, Ross, to be honest with you. Because you basically said there's holes all over the friggin' squad. And what I'm going to try and flip it on its head is, for once we're not talking about holes in the first team. We're talking about holes in the squad, which is a great situation to be in, is the flip side of that coin, isn't it, Callum?
Yeah, I agree. I think the only position we could, and this hurts me to say it, is Bobby.
He's going to say the number 9.
Yeah, I love Bobby to bits. Everyone knows this, but I do want just a supreme killer in front of goal now. Someone who looks at the goalkeeper and just looks through him and says, you are not going to save this. And I'd love Bobby to be pushed back into the 10, but I don't know if Klopp will go for a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 or just have a rotation between the two. But if I could pick one position on the pitch where I'd want to upgrade, it's Bobby's position. I'd want a killer in front of goal now, an out-and-out striker, and I think that would actually help Mane and Salah because it would relieve some of the pressure on them, and I think they could play more of their natural games as well.
Is there anyone in the Euros that caught your eye in that role?
Oh, Isak from Sweden. I think he's very dynamic. He's tall and powerful, which is again something we don't really have up top. We don't have that player who can really hold up the ball as such and really bully defenders. Like Bobby's technique and skill is quality, but we don't really have anyone that can really occupy two centre backs as such and leave Mane and Salah isolated with their fullbacks. So I think someone like him would do really well in our system. The ultimate dream for me would be Haaland, but that's not going to happen. So. No,
it's not, isn't it? But I think Haaland's the one in it. I mean, I've been saying this for weeks and weeks now. Him and Mbappe are the biggest dead set I've ever seen in football as far as transfers go. Barring injury, they're just dead set. You can spend 100 million, you're going to be absolutely laughing with them. Mm-hmm. And there's the Premier League and every league around Europe is littered with players that should have been dead set, but they weren't. The biggest one for me is one of my favourite players of all time before he went to Manchester United was Sebastian Veron. and Juan Sebastian Veron, sorry, and I just thought he was going to light the Premier League up, and he wasn't, and he didn't, and I remember watching him at Parma, and he was just unbelievable, and he comes to United, and there's nothing there, and
took Shevchenko in that as well.
Yeah, Shevchenko, exactly the same. I mean, maybe he was a little bit longer in the tooth, Shevchenko. I haven't played for so long for AC Milan, but still should have, Ross is right, still should have absolutely dominated. Whereas Haaland and Mbappe, the age that they are, they should be coming in and lighting it up. Let's talk a little bit about the Euros then, James. I mean, for a start, last night's games was real football, and it was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, you think you've seen, one of the best European games ever, and then, the France game comes on and is even better. I mean, got from the neutral, just goals and drama, and I thought all four teams. I thought I don't think you could particularly criticise any of the four teams. I mean, obviously France going out is probably a bit of an underachievement. But I thought Croatia were great last night for huge parts of the first half, and to get back into the game as well. I thought was testament to them. I thought Spain. I think they look the real deal. I don't think they've hit their stride yet. But to see Kylian Mbappe miss that penalty, I mean, my God. I mean, it was proper heart in mouth stuff. I knew I had a feeling when it had gone through all the penalties. You just had that feeling like, oh no, it's good. This is going to happen. You suddenly Kylian Mbappe becomes a kid. You see, all of a sudden you're seeing a really young player taking the most important penalty for his country in a European last 16, and all of a sudden you just think, man, he hasn't got that experience yet. He hasn't got that, yes, he's of course he's won a World Cup. He's the youngest player to score in a World Cup and all, etc. But that those years of experience that come with that, he just hasn't got that, and I just broke my heart, man. Yeah. Come on, we'll look after you, Kylian. Come over.
Watch. It was tough to watch.
It was really tough to watch.
Carl's got the Fiesta revved and ready to go, like, you know what I mean? He'll be on the tunnel, and he doesn't mind isolating for you, Kylian. He will not mind isolating coming back for you at all, my friend. We're here, we're waiting for you, we love you, and we want you to be a Liverpool striker, because Carl hates Bobby Firmino now, apparently.
Thrown you under the bus.
But can I just say, I mean, I had that same feeling about Mbappe, but then equally, in my head, write a story why every player is going to miss. Am I the only person that does that will literally come with a narrative of why they're going to miss? Oh, he doesn't look comfortable. Oh, those shorts look tight. Oh, he's going to sky this one over the bar.
What kind of run-up is that?
Exactly. Am I the only one that does it? Every player, I write a narrative of how they're going to miss.
Because we love drama, Chris. That's what it is.
It's true. Like, so, did anyone think Mbappe was going to score? No, exactly.
Yeah, because you think he's prolific. When you say Mbappe, one of the things you do is like he's a clinical finisher, isn't he? And then I think it's Switzerland had already missed a penalty. When we come back to what you were saying then, I think he was either centre half or he was a right back or something. And when you look at someone's run up and you go, why is the centre back taking a penalty? Like, and Shaqiri's 5 yards behind him as well, by the way. Like, why was he not on it? I thought he was going to miss, and he did. But Mbappe, and I thought, nah, said to James before, like, put your house on Mbappe scoring a penalty.
Yeah, it was a mad game of football. Made all the better for the greatest commentary duo, by the way. I mean, I was saying this in the office upstairs. Like, I mean, everyone's fallen in love with Ali McCoist. But do you remember that when he was on Question of Sport? He was on Question of Sport for like a decade. Like and he was brilliant, like absolutely superb. He should commentate every sport.
It's the two of them together, though. It's the two of them together. There's just a real kind of warmth there. You can tell they really enjoy each other's company. I think Clive says last night when they were during the penalties, he says, I've never taken an important penalty, in my life, whereas you've taken plenty, and there's just a nice kind of energy between them that's really, really good to hear and to watch.
They're brilliant.
They are great.
They should be the commentators for ITV on the final, but I don't think they are they, Ross?
No, I think it's Sam Matterface and McCoist, which are their number one. But I think I saw Cy Bunnish tweeting about it a couple of weeks ago, was the Clive Tilsley stuff, where it's a nostalgia thing, because, growing up in the noughties when ITV had Champions League football, it was always Clive Tilsley, so you kind of grown up with him and talking about the warmth of James there. But I think they just love what they do. They love what they do, they research it, and they're good at it. So, like, as a neutral, when we're watching football, I think it's difficult for some of us because you're invested in football, or, Chris, for you've not listened to commentary because you've been doing it yourself. But to sit and watch a game of football as good as it was last night, those two games, but with commentators who enjoy what they do, it adds to it all, doesn't it? And you enjoyment of football, fans being back in stadiums is another one. We're seeing great football. We're seeing good officials that aren't taking 3 days to do a VAR thing. There's no drama. There's not been one game that I've seen. I've not seen loads of games where someone's kicking off about a VAR decision. It's been great football, where people are enjoying themselves. Fans are coming back. Great commentary. It's, it all adds to it. And, it's not Liverpool losing games of football. What's not to like?
It's always a good thing, that, Callum, isn't it? I mean, what is it that you love about Ali McCoist then?
Everything. What did we see that? So last season he was doing the games on Amazon Prime, wasn't he? And I was just like, let him just do Sky Sports and BT Sport, because what it is with Ali McCoist, he seems like one of those commentators who has no bias or agendas. So he just calls it as he sees it. He doesn't seem to have like any sort of hidden motives, or he doesn't dislike a player for whatever reason. He just calls it as he sees it, and he genuinely seems like he's a fan watching the game. So he's much more relatable than the others who it seems like a job to the other guys. It just is like, all right, yep, I've got to go and do this today. Whereas Ali McCoy is like, oh, I'm commentating this game. Yep, I'm in. Whereas the others are just like, yeah, cool, just make sure my check's in the bank and I'll do it. So he's just brilliant. I love McCoy.
It's his personality, I think, because Carl's right. He did the Scotland game against Croatia, and like Modric scores that absolute curl of a goal with the outside of his boot, and you can get some commentators that'll be like, "This is a bit disappointed," and Ali McCoy's just like, "Oh my god, what a goal that was!" Like, the replays, like, "Oh, I'll get the angle on that," and you're thinking he's a fan. And I think with Sky Sports and some other channels, he can be saturated to not show the personality where, yeah, exactly, exactly that. Where his personality comes through. That's what the best thing about it. He's enjoying himself. So therefore, we are.
It is. It's that love for the game. It's how he doesn't just play the narrative of blaming people all the time. And we all do this as fans because we're taught to do this because Sky analyse everything to the friggin' nth degree, and there's always someone to blame. But he always sort of takes the players' side on things, doesn't he? And he's like, yeah, but it was also brilliant by that guy, so don't take it away from him, type of thing. I just love it's a really refreshing outlook on commentary in this country, and him and Clive Tildesley have been absolutely superb. Guys, that has been the Redmen TV podcast, but before we go, I just want to say thank you first of all to Ashley Frith, who sent in a super chat, 10 quid, who says, for the last time, want to say amazing work for all the Hendo interviews and episodes, world class work. Quick question, if Liverpool could only sign one player and it has to be realistic, who would it be? One player, realistic. Callum, you first.
Chris, coming to me first. One player, Rafinha.
Rafinha, Leeds, okay, nice. Like it. Good player. Ross?
Mbappe.
Grow up.
I will take Renato Sanchez.
Ooh.
I'm getting on that bandwagon.
Yeah. Sanchez or John McGinn.
John McGinn's a realistic one.
Yeah, John McGinn's realistic. I think the price is probably something we could get, and I think with a bit of coaching, a few Klopp hugs, sky's the limit.
I like that as a shout. I think Liverpool, if Liverpool can't sign Jack Grealish, what are we in it for?
Yeah.
Like, we're one of the best clubs in the world. If that's not a realistic signing, like, the money might be slightly tough for us or something like that. I don't think Mbappe's unrealistic either, but Grealish is some friggin' player, man.
Yeah,
getting free kicks all day, every day, and Virgil van Dijk knocking them in for fun. I'd have a little bit of Jack Grealish myself, like. And before we go then, do check out this. This is an exclusive interview streaming now on the redmentv.com. It's Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's about 20 minutes talking about his Liverpool career over the last few years. 15 minutes? 50 minutes. 50 minutes of Trent Alexander-Arnold holding an iPad and talking about his Liverpool career. It's absolutely superb. Go and check it out. Here's a little clip, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks for joining us, Tra.
I just remember even being in my room at midday, 1:30, and just thinking in 9 hours my dream could be true. I could be a Champions League winner. Yeah, in 9 hours. This is mental. And not being able to nap, I was just there, just staring at the ceiling, just thinking, what can happen? And I think, the first 20 until Morgan injured, we were well in the game. I mean, I'm not blaming Mo's injury for the reason we lost, but I think that was a big momentum changer for us. And then second half, everyone knows what happened there. But it was a good game. It taught us a lot of things, and I think we wouldn't be the team that we are today without that game.